Welcome back to the final Rebels Edge of the Week. Why is that? Well, because we've got something we're going to let you guys all know about in about 30 seconds. And in the meantime, Pete and I are going to break down for you what Jay Powell and the Fed are going to do today and what's likely to happen in 2026. We've got that, stocks, and sports on today's Rebels Edge.
It's official.
It's official.
We got a lot packed into today, tomorrow, and the next day, John. I'll tell you, and the next day after that. I mean, it's going to be a busy one for us for sure.
Yeah, you bet, Pete. And by the way, in case you ever question, Pete, why I live in one of the most desirable places to live on Earth, probably the third richest man on Earth just went by in his 417-foot sailboat, Karoo. And I guess Jeff Bezos and Ms. Sanchez Bezos are enjoying the weather. And I mean, Pete, that thing on the horizon, I saw it, Bridge actually saw it first on the horizon. She said, "What is that?" And then I look out the window and I'm thinking, well, that's way too tall for most cargo ships that come by here and all that stuff. So I pulled out the binocs and I sat there looking and yep, big black. The Kevlar sails on that thing are probably a couple $1 million, Pete. I mean, holy crap. And it's got it's a 4-master, I think. It's the biggest sailing yacht in the world.
Yeah, it's too bad he's really struggling in life, that poor son of a gun.
Well, let's dive right into the macro, Pete. We always love breaking down the macro for you guys. And today I'm going to say that the cut we're going to get, it's 88% or 89% chance. If yields stabilize, which I think they will eventually here, we're going to go back to work pretty soon. And I think that the fact that we're making this cut, Pete, and the fact that our buddy Tom Lee, who's going to be at the 10X WealthCon with you and me tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. That group, that's going to be a fun time, Pete. And I think everybody's of the same mind that we're going to get the cut and it's not enough, but eventually 2026, we're going to get more.
Yep. If they don't do the cut, John, it's going to be a really shocker, I think, for all of us, because we've been counting on this and basically adding it up and making sure that it's going to be a quarter. And it sure looks like it's going to be, like you said, 88, 89% that it's going to be a quarter point. So big Fed day. And I think because of the fact that we know that, John, already, I think what we're looking forward to is what will Jerome say and what will he maybe by accident say. And that's where things get a little bit slippery, I think. So hopefully he doesn't go that direction, but you never know. And so we'll find out pretty soon because the clock is ticking right now.
Yep. And most of the futures, Pete, are pretty sharply unchanged. Mm-hmm. Even down to the cryptos. I mean, when Bitcoin's only moving $700, that's kind of like a zero for a $92,000 asset, 92,000 a piece, that is, of course. Mm-hmm. But, well, we'll give you a breakdown on that. As far as futures, Pete, I am saying that futures are going to stay flat until we get the cut at 2 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, and I'll just throw one last thing, which is nat gas. I mean, I just think it's important for people to understand how volatile it's been. Today, no, it's not doing a whole heck of a lot. But you know what? Early December, we were looking at 4.5. We jumped up to 5.5, and here we are again, 4.5. So, I understand it's gone basically nowhere if you go back a few weeks, but it's been volatile in between those weeks, and I think we ought to keep an eye on that. And oh, by the way, silver, another new high today, John, hitting over 62. So there are a few things going on for sure today, but a lot of people want to wait and see exactly what happens. Like I said, we expect the quarter point, but what's Jerome going to say? That's what really matters most.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Okay, let's talk about SATS, Pete, which is EchoStar. So they're one of the potential competitors against Elon Musk with his satellite to the Earth. That is something that's under SpaceX. And EchoStar is getting an overweight rating, Pete, from Morgan Stanley, with a price target moving up from 82 to 110. And why is that? Well, maybe it has something to do with SpaceX getting $1.5 trillion valuation for a privately held company. I mean, it's not public yet, Pete. So that is a huge, and by the way, if you wondered, folks, yes, we did have unusual option activity in this one. There it is. 6,000 of those December 19th, that's next Friday, expiring 75 calls. Well, this one's been moving up pretty sharply ever since, Pete. And I like the move. And it's up $25 since Friday alone, Pete.
Yeah. Unbelievable move to the upside, but all understandable as well, John. When you talked about SpaceX and you're looking at the valuation that they're talking about here, the largest ever IPO. I mean, 1.5 trillion in valuation. I'd say that's a pretty handsome number. The free cash flow that these guys have at EchoStar too, John, that's really strong. $1.1 billion. They just hit another 52-week high today. So things are definitely starting to get reflected back and forth, and we're seeing that EchoStar having a great day today. There's no doubt about it, and I think Morgan Stanley helped out. But I think more than anything, it's that SpaceX and the valuation there, and looking around. And these aren't the only two. There are others out there that are on the move as well. So interesting day, and EchoStar having a phenomenal day today.
Yeah, and I'm using Elon's product right now to talk to you, Pete, because Starlink is, a great asset to have, especially if you're moving around, because you can literally bring it with you. Now, if you start bringing it out on the ocean, they'll want to charge you more because you're basically not at a fixed point. But if you're at a fixed point, he lets you move it around. So I can take it from my house in the south to my house up here on the ocean. It's freaking great. Love it. All right. Let's talk about Photronics, Pete. PLAB. It was up 10%, then 20, then 25. Now it's up 35%, Pete. And they make high precision photographic quartz or glass plates containing microscopic images. And PLAB is getting a big thrust higher by all the folks that are caught short in this one too, Pete.
Yeah, you look at the cash to debt, that looks fantastic, John. $550 million. The shorts are about 8 or 10%. That's another reason. By the way, I did see it. At one point in time, it was up 44%. So, this thing has been absolutely ripping today. It's absolutely incredible. They crushed the earnings. They did a great job with the revenue as well. And then they talked about what they expect for 2026. Some pretty healthy numbers there as well. So hitting the highest levels it's had since 2000. I would say that's pretty impressive since we're in 2025, almost 26. Really an interesting stock that's had an unbelievable path, and today just crushing it. So when you've got 8 or 10% of those shorts and they're starting to reach up and they see it, like you said, up 26%, 35%, 44%, I mean, that's what we like to call the old squeeze play, and that's exactly what we're seeing today coming out of Photronics.
Well, this one looks pretty good too, Pete. GE Vernova. This is a global energy company for wind, power, and electrification, and it hit a new 52-week high of 725 today. Wow.
Yep, it's on fire, John. I mean, it's really shifting and going to the upside. They actually doubled their dividend as well, so that's pretty impressive. The earnings projections, this is all from Investor Day, by the way. This isn't an earnings call. This is an Investor Day, and they're giving people what they wanted to hear, apparently, because stock, like you just said, by the way, 52-week low was 252. The high, which was hit today, 7.25. That's a
wow.
For a company that does what they do with the combine and the turbines and all the rest of it, absolutely incredible, the kind of volatility we're talking about, but they certainly have impressed folks, John. And I think the margins going from 14% to 20%, and they raised their earnings projections, all these different things. I'll tell you what, they couldn't have had a better day on this Investors Day than they have. So you got to give your hat, a tip of the hat for what's going on over there with GEV.
Well, and then Pete, let's finish up with Oracle, because Oracle earnings tonight after the bell. Wall Street's looking for double-digit growth, Pete, driven, of course, by AI. Last time they announced, the stock was up 35% the next day. It made Mr. Ellison, Larry Ellison, because his son over there runs Skydance, Paramount Skydance. But Larry Ellison founded this company, still owns, I think, 34% of the company, Pete. And when it went up as much as it did back in August, it made him the richest man in the world. That's how big the move was. Well, they've got earnings after the bell tonight, Pete, and I think we could be looking at another one of those situations like NVIDIA, where is the news good enough to drive this and other AIs higher? Or is it like a little flattish and all of a sudden people get cold feet again on valuations?
Yeah, expectations are there. And I think that you just said the exact thing I was going to say, which is valuation. I mean, when we look at the PE level right now, John, somewhere north of or around 32, something like that. Historically, that's well above where they've been. So I think for that reason, they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to show what they are going to do, which is basically expectations are about a 12% higher than they were for both the revenue as well as the earnings. They can do that. I wouldn't be shocked at all about that. That cloud infrastructure. I mean, people forget a lot of these things. One of the things that might be a negative for people, though, might be because it's been talked about so much, is this whole thing about CapEx. People are concerned about how much money is being spent and what is the return on that money. And these guys are expecting their CapEx to be up 65% year over year. That's quite a bit of money. But if they can get it back because of the CapEx that they're doing, then they've got a really good shot. And this stock, it's a long distance away from where they hit at those highs in September, John, 345. It's trading 220 right now. So will they get back up there? My guess would be no, not for a while. But anything that they say that's positive and people can glom onto it and reduce what's negative, I think this thing could actually have a pretty nice run to the upside.
I don't think any of us would be shocked to see that, Pete. Right. It would be more shocking if indeed Larry Ellison or the CFO, whomever, the president and so forth, if they were to come out and say, we might have overestimated things. I doubt if they're going to say that.
They're not saying it.
I'd look for upside here, but the stock is sharply unchanged so far today, Pete.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look at one of our favorite commentators, Pete. We should get this kid on the show instead of just his videos, because he's a pretty damn smart and entertaining kid. He's going to be talking about the leading candidate for the Heisman, and I really don't think it's even going to be close at this point, not after he led Indiana to upset Ohio State.
Yep.
This, of course, we're talking about Mendoza. So let's let you
On
guys
January
look and
31st,
listen and
2022, Fernando Mendoza had a problem. These were the top high school quarterbacks in the country when Mendoza was a senior at Christopher Columbus in Miami just over 3 years ago. Guys like Cade Klubnik, Drew Adler, were getting begged by every Division I program in the country to come to their schools. However, all the way down to number
and now he's a Heisman Trophy
Fernando
candidate.
Mendoza's story was much different. A 2-star recruit, not even ranked as a top 2,000 player in the nation. Mendoza wasn't even a top 250 player in Florida. And heading into his senior high school football season, he only had a couple options for college. Option A, go to Yale, but they don't offer football scholarships.
And you and I have a little bit of a tie-in to this kid because of his days of being at Cal Berkeley.
Offering him a football scholarship. In August, heading into Mendoza's senior year of high school, he committed to Yale. And in his final high school football season, he went on to have 1,100 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 4
too bad academically.
So it looked like Yale.
It's too bad he struggles academically, John. He was
in January
of Yale,
2022, right before National Signing Day, Mendoza got a call. Out of nowhere, Cal was jumping in to recruit him. They hadn't signed any quarterbacks in the 2022 class, and they wanted to fly him out on a visit immediately. Mendoza took the trip. He loved Cal. And on January 31st, the day before signing day, he decommitted from Yale. Then on February 1st, Mendoza signed with Cal. But the thing was, nobody actually thought he'd end up being a starter there. Fernando didn't care.
I don't know
he
if
just
Cal
wanted an
knew how
opportunity
good the
to play
kid
college
really
football
was,
at the highest
John.
level, and he knew
how do you let
the
him
most
go?
out of his opportunity. In the fall of
I know.
2022,
That
as a
was
true
stupid.
freshman, Mendoza redshirted. But surprisingly,
I
as
love
a sophomore,
Cal, but sometimes,
he was able
you
to
know,
beat out all of the other quarterbacks
sometimes you gotta
and
look at
take
these
over
guys
the
a little
QB1
closer
job.
and say,
He
hey,
worked
this
harder than
guy's
everyone,
meaningful.
and in 2023, he had 16 touchdowns and 1,700 passing yards. And then when he came back in 2024, he had 16 passing touchdowns and 3,000 yards. This time last year,
Still can't
Mendoza
believe
was
they
seen
beat
as a
Ohio
good
State.
college quarterback.
That's
But if
awesome.
you said he'd be the first overall pick in the 2026 draft or the Heisman winner this year, everyone would have laughed at you. Fernando wasn't expecting to make the league either. That's why he was doing a real estate internship at Cal. But you see, Coach Signetti at
real
Indiana
estate.
University saw something in Mendoza. And he knew if he got him the transfer
I love
there,
that coach
he could
at
take his
Indiana.
game to the
I
next
love how
level.
he
Fernando
is
bought in.
just
His younger
so
brother is
gruff
also on the
and
Indiana
kinda
football
rough,
team.
and
And
he
it was
gets
the
these-
best decision he could have ever made.
I think
Now,
that the
heading
media
into this
doesn't
season,
understand how to
Mendoza's
talk
odds
to
for
the
winning
guy. It's
Heisman
great.
were virtually zero. Today, though, as Indiana is 13-0, and Mendoza has
all
brought
he
them their
does
first
is drop
outright Big
dimes,
Ten
Pete.
title since
Yeah, I
the
mean, when you look at
1940s.
these, John,
His
you're not
Heisman
really
odds
seeing
on
the
Kalshi
receivers having
have
to
now
slow
jumped
down
over
or speed. I mean, he's
90%.
just
And over the
basically
last
putting
few
the
months,
ball right
Indiana's
where it
odds
needs
of
to
winning
be
the
for
national
the guy who's
championship
out there. I
have
mean,
gone
that's
from 1% to over 20%.
it sounds easy. It
Now,
sounds
for
like
more
everybody
stories,
should
just
do
drop
it.
me
They
a
just
follow.
can't all do it. I mean, the kid physically looks the part. Mentally, he certainly looks the part. He's just got to be at the right team, John. And I don't know that any quarterback is going to go first in the draft this year based upon some of those teams. And you and I talked about that a little bit yesterday. But for the teams who do need a quarterback, which comes a little bit after the first pick, probably maybe 2 or 3 down, he's got to be somewhere in that conversation, right? I mean, I don't know how he wouldn't be. But all right, so from a sports perspective, how about the fact that Utah finally did something that people have talked about for, I don't know, the better part of the last year at least, John, because of all the changes that are going on in college sports, specifically college football, let's be honest. But Florida State was talking about this not too long ago about, hey, let's get involved with this PE investment group or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay. Then they decided no. Then the Big 12 comes out and they say, hey, let's get involved with this whole thing with these big, PEs groups, private equity guys. Let's do that. We had a deal going on. No, let's back away. The Big 10, same thing. They're looking at about a $2 billion deal, and they went, nah, we're not really ready to do it. Well, of all the schools, I guess Utah, and I didn't realize how many private equity firms, John, are somewhere in the state of Utah, but they are. And one of them stepped up to the plate. Atro, I think is the way you pronounce it, Atro Capital. Anyway, they've got a deal now, and so they're going to be the first school that goes into this whole thing with the private equity group to try to be able to generate, the kind of money that you need to have in today's world of college sports, particularly football. But investing capital and managing the revenue and that, you're still going to give the school, Utah, are still going to talk about which athletes they're going after and the ownership of this, that, and the other. So, it seems like something that's not too confusing once they put it together. And that's the money that we are seeing in the sport. I mean, it's specifically, like I say, football. I mean, obviously basketball could be another one, but I think this is far more, it's the school, but it's far more based upon what's happening with sports, specifically football, because of the size of the stadiums, the amount of money that things could really change. And you're not really taking that much away from it. What do you think about this whole idea of private equity getting involved and being part of a college, either conference or team in this case? Because once this happened, John, now there's 5 or 6 others out there that are talking about, yeah, we're looking at the private equity world too. We're doing this. And I don't know. What do you think about this whole thing? And does it make sense?
Well, it's $500 million. So as you said, it's a real number.
Yeah.
The fact that they're going to own, if you will, not own outright, but have the rights to, I guess, Pete, 25 or 30% of the net profit from the program. these are professional football programs. Make no mistake about it, folks.
Yeah.
If you can put 70,000 butts in those seats and have them pay you a similar fee, perhaps without the PSL, the seat licensing deal, but if you can get them to pay you 150, 200 bucks a seat for 70,000 seats and things like that, you can make some money. And then you've got the TV contract. And then you've got of course, Bulls, which, the teams that all got the bye, Pete, got $8 million a piece. The teams that just qualified for the CFB got $4 million a piece. So, there could be a reasonable return on that 500 mil when you see numbers like this. And you got to think that they're going to be going out there trying to push, other sponsor deals, because, Utah should be doing that. And I'm sure to an extent that they are. I don't know if their sponsor deals are with Nike or with New Balance or, Adidas or whoever it might be. But a lot of these things can be sponsored. And if you start seeing these football players in college look more and more like the pro basketball over in Europe, or now pro basketball in the US, where they look like NASCARs, Pete, because they've got so many patches on the uniform and everything, you could sure see something like that. I mean, could you generate, for instance, 50 mil a year? That would be a monster return on that 500 mil that they're putting up. And they need it, because otherwise you're an also-ran, and pretty soon you're not competitive. Yeah. Because, I'll take the schools that are going to have the NIL money, which obviously Ohio State has. They're the highest paid, I think, right now. And it was funny, Pete, I should have grabbed this one for you. You remember Ed Orgeron at LSU?
Yeah.
So he was famous for, when he was leaving, saying, well, you're going to buy me out of 17 million? Just show me which door you want me to go out of. That kind of thing.
Love him.
He was on a show this week, Pete, and they asked him, well, you guys have always kind of had the NIL, wink, wink, in the Southeast Conference, right? And he said, well, yeah, except we had to go in through the back door. Now we can go in through the front door with a whole briefcase. He was so funny. He was so funny.
He is a classic. Love him.
I love Coach O.
Yeah, he's a fun guy, and he's kind of found himself. It seems like right now he's getting in the press all the time because of who he was and who might in the future. Who knows what the heck happens? I mean, things can change. How about the college bowl games, John? Now, I think this one's kind of interesting because it has been going on for a few years where there are players from some of these schools who do not play, right? I mean, you're going to some bowl game, the Sun Bowl, whatever, you take your pick. And a kid's like, well, I don't want to play because I'm going to get hurt. Now, I never really have liked that whole thing, but I mean, you're part of the team, and you know what? You can make those decisions if you want to. So a lot of the time you'll see players opting out. How about this thing with the schools, though, John? I've got 10 on the list so far, and I'm sure there might be more coming. Notre Dame, Kansas State, Iowa State, Baylor, Rutgers, Florida State, Auburn, Temple, Central Florida, and Kansas have all opted out. So here's the interesting thing. So you're supposed to have a winning record if you're going to be in the college football, bowl games or whatever. I'm not talking about the playoffs. I'm talking about bowl games. You got to be 6-6. Well, if these schools all belly out, you're going to be looking at a lot of 5-7 teams that are going to be jumping on this whole thing. So, I mean, if we thought the bowl games were already sort of, ridiculous because there's so many and they're so, watered down and everything else, and you've got players not playing and everything, Auburn, Florida State, and Rice all turned down their bowl bids as well. Now, you start looking around, and all of a sudden, if you get thin on the 5-7 teams, what the hell kind of thing is going on? I mean, this could really be just the total toilet bowls. And you and I have talked about this in the past, even before some of this. But what do you think of this? Because, I mean, it's unbelievable to me. I mean, even the college football playoff, there are guys who will not play. Now, they might have a fake injury, but they'll stand on the sideline. Oh yeah, my hammy. Oh yeah, it's a hammy. No, they're fine. They're fine. It ain't the hammy. They're sitting out because they don't want to get hurt and they don't want to do this and that, which makes, it's unfortunate for these Bulls that it's like that's the case and that's what people are doing. What do you think about this whole thing with all these schools? Because it started off, everybody was ripping on Notre Dame. It ain't just Notre Dame that's out there and is saying, see you later. There's a heck of a long list so far.
Yeah. And a couple of those teams, of course, don't just have winning records, but have pretty good records, like 8-4 or, 7-5 kind of thing, like you said. And it used to be when you got to 6 wins, you were like, yes, we're bowl eligible.
Yeah.
I echo what I said yesterday, Pete. I won't repeat the whole rant, but if you're so upset, like the coach at Notre Dame or the coach at Kansas or Rice or wherever, that you're not going to let your seniors have one last time putting on the pads and playing for you, you have no criticism of Lane Kiffin. Because, for instance, Lane Kiffin was criticized because they said, well, he led these guys to the playoffs and, they're one of the top picks to win the national title, and now he's not even going to coach them. He deserted them for LSU. Oh, yeah? What about your seniors? You deserted them because not every one of those guys, obviously, in fact, probably only 1 or 2 per team might actually make it in the NFL unless they're playing for Ohio State or apparently Indiana or Georgia. The rest of those kids, this is the last time they're going to put on pads, Pete. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's really wrong for the coaches, even if they asked the players, even if it was a vote. And I suspect in many cases, you were in 2 bowls, Pete. I was in 1 bowl game for junior college only. But I can't imagine kids voting to not ever, or to say, yeah, the last game we played, that's my last game. When you qualify, when you're invited to a bowl, I can't imagine looking at those kids at Kansas or Iowa State or any of these schools on your list that said, yeah, I don't want to play. I'll just sit on the couch at home and play Madden or whatever. Come on. I mean, I think this is, I think the coaches and players are not only going to get fined, which they are, everybody but Notre Dame who isn't going is getting fined $500,000 for not going. Yep. And they're not going to get what they would have got in the bowl game, which, as you know, Pete, cheapest bowl payout that I knew of was $750,000. So you went from making $750 to paying $500. You guys, I'd love to trade or play poker against all of the folks that are doing that, Pete, because I think I could pretty much mop up on them.
I think you're right. By the way, first bowl game this weekend, Saturday. It's Boise State and Washington.
Good.
Which are 2 good teams, actually. Good records, good teams. I don't know how that got convinced on the bowl side of things or whatever, but she kicks off on Saturday, John, and then the whole season begins. But I almost wonder, are they going to be able to fill up all the bowl games with teams?
No.
There's no way, is there? I mean, I can't imagine it.
Especially, maybe some of these losing teams, Pete, their fans have just been, trying to come home and ring that victory bell.
Like we always wanted to.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a disservice to the players and their fans to do this. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Folks, we do not have a Rebels Edge tomorrow. We don't, because Pete and I are traveling to Miami because we're going to be part of the 10X Wealth Conference down there with Anthony Pompliano, with Tom Lee, with a whole bunch of great speakers and so forth at this event. So if you're somebody who would like to join us, you can still try, but you're probably getting a virtual ticket at this point. But for that reason, we're not going to be doing the Rebels Edge tomorrow, but we will be doing it on Monday. But did we change the time, Pete? When do we do it Monday?
No, although we're not on Puerto Rico time, I never know where the heck you are. But yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll say Eastern time, 1 p.m.
See you at 1 p.m. Eastern on Monday.
Bye.